breaking the cycle of boom and bust when it comes to invisible illnesses can be really challenging. And when I talk about invisible illnesses, I'm talking about chronic fatigue syndrome or ME/CFS, fibromyalgia, POTS. There's a few others and perhaps different phrasing of the ones that I've just mentioned. My name's Kester, and I thought I'd do a quick video regarding capacity versus tolerance and the importance of that when it comes to managing invisible illnesses. So yeah, as I was saying, breaking the cycle of boom and bust can be really challenging. And when I say boom and bust, I'm talking about that pattern of feeling okay, feeling like you're capable and you can do activities and then engaging in those, but then afterwards experiencing an increase in those symptoms. One of the reasons it can be hard to manage that boom and bust is perhaps failure to or just challenges or not understanding the difference between capacity and tolerance. And it's not an intuitive one to know that. But I thought I'd explain what's going on here. So often people can boom and bust because at the time of exertion, they actually felt like they were managing okay. And it's not till afterwards, and that doesn't have to be necessarily straight away. It might be a day later, they experience that post-exertion malaise or that increase in symptoms. So while someone's physical capacity or just ability to exert energy allowed them to do that activity, their tolerance to stress, exertion, or stimuli is reduced. So when we're talking about capacity, we're talking about your body's total ability to exert energy. So, I can pick 20 kilos up off the ground. I can run for say 7 minutes without stopping. That's my capacity. Tolerance is the amount of energy I could exert before negative consequences occur. And when I mean negative consequences, I'm talking about post-exertion malaise, so pain, fatigue, dizziness, nausea, headaches, however your symptoms manifest. So to the diagram, there's supposed to be mountains. So before sensitization, so before chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgias become an issue, and this mountain, I guess, is showing that, someone's walking up the mountain, which is obviously a physical challenge. Their total capacity is there, so they can get there. Physically, their body allows them to get there. Once they hit that point, though, they physically can't go any further, so they have to stop and walk back down. But about here, that's where maybe fatigue and other things set in. After sensitization, say chronic fatigue syndrome, someone's capacity may be still relatively high, like a lot of high-level athletes and such get chronic fatigue syndrome, and they're some of the fittest people in the world. And so maybe they can still actually physically do that. But this was the point where that was their tolerance there. And symptoms might not necessarily begin at that point when they're walking up the hill. They might happen later that day, the next day, a few hours later, but that is the point, that's their tolerance. So they could walk to there and walk back and they wouldn't experience any post-exertion malaise. But say if they've pushed all the way there, they're physically being able to do it, but later as a result, their symptoms are going to increase. So in terms of managing chronic fatigue or POTS or fibromyalgia, making this distinction is really important, because if we can understand what our tolerance is, reduce that pattern of boom and bust, it's really important for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you're stopping that boom and bust, you're kind of mitigating those really awful symptoms. So you don't want to experience that, obviously. It's also going to get in the way of you doing, getting on with the rest of your day and the rest of your week and doing the things you want to do. So you're avoiding that. So you're having a better spread of energy. But the other side of it, it also provides an opportunity to start to perhaps challenge our nervous system. So if we've been pacing really well and we're adhering to our tolerance, we're not overdoing it, we can actually start to progressively increase exercise or something like that, and start to kind of build our tolerance up over time so we can do more and get back to the things that we enjoy and that are important to us. In terms of actually figuring out your capacity versus tolerance, it is a little bit of trial and error. Maybe you went for a 20-minute walk, it was too much. You try 10 and 10's okay. Maybe you have a little bit of fatigue for, shortly afterwards, but that alleviates and you can still get on with the rest of your day and the next day you're okay. So figuring out what that tolerance is really good. There's tools that can help with that. So actually taking a log of your activity can be really useful because, an experience of post-exertional malaise or a bust, there can be other factors that go into that. It might not necessarily just be the bout of exercise that you did. Maybe there was something else that happened in your day. So if we're taking a log, we can look at that and as best we can kind of isolate that activity and figure out if that was the culprit, the exercise that we did or the activity that we did. Exercise logs can be good too. The type of activity or exercise, the duration, heart rate and things like that. That is probably better. You're probably better off getting some advice from an exercise physiologist around that. But yeah, that's the video. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching.